Hey, what's up? I just realized that I haven't even introduced myself yet. So, I'm Sebastian and I run a video production company with my wife. And one of my goals for 2021 is to not only start a YouTube channel, but also to post one video every week. I'm going to talk about every aspect of running a video production company, the gear I use, and will also make tutorials about everything video production related. And now that I got this out of the way, let's start with the actual topic of today's video. I've already mentioned in my last video that we use a tablet as a monitor whenever shooting with the A7S III. And since this is something worth mentioning, not only because it's very convenient, but also because you can save a lot of money, I wanted to make a separate video about it. So this is what my video village setup looked like before using the Sony A7S III. Not bad, and it worked great, but it always took me a while to set it up. I needed at least 4 AMP style batteries to power it, and it got quite heavy during long shooting days. But luckily, things have changed for me with the A7S III, and now it looks like this. Way easier and faster to set up, plus I can even pull focus without having to use a focus wheel. I always dreamed about having a small video village one day, but I knew that it would require a few things to make it happen. Before the A7S III, I used two A6300 for a lot of client projects, because they're compact and the downsampled 6K footage looks really amazing. But what always bothered me was the size of the screen, because it was way too tiny to see if your shot is really on focus. So the first thing I bought was an external monitor from Cine. It's a really affordable 4K monitor that checks all the boxes for me. False color, focus peaking, 9-grid and histogram. And you can also power it by MPF batteries or plug it into an outlet if you shoot interviews, for example. And I used it for every project ever since I bought it, but as I said, I have two A6300. And there are two reasons for this. Firstly, I wanted to have a backup camera if the first one decides to stop working by overheating, which the Sony cameras before the A7S III are known for. But I also wanted to increase the production quality for interviews by shooting them from 2 angles. So in the next step, I bought a second monitor from the same brand. Great, now I had a monitor for each camera whenever shooting interviews. And I could also attach a monitor to my gimbal setup whenever I was using the Ronin SC. But I'm not a one-man band, and since my wife as a producer needs to check if I got the shots she had in mind, I needed a different solution than showing her each shot on my gimbal monitor right after I stopped recording. But also for clients who want to see what I'm actually capturing for them. And that also checks another important box for us. If a client is able to see everything you're shooting during production, he can't complain afterwards about the way you captured something, because he saw exactly what you did on site. That's also a reason why you see big production companies set up video villages for their clients on set. You want to make sure that the client is happy with what you're capturing. Plus, it gives the DPs and directors room to breathe without having the client right in their neck looking over their shoulder. But to set up a video village, you need an HDMI transmitter, ideally wireless. Buying a pair from Teradek, which I used in Hollywood, will easily cost you a couple thousand. But luckily, we live in an era where filmmaking gear gets cheaper and companies like Hollyland create amazing wireless HDMI transmitters that are really affordable. So I bought the Hollyland Morse 300, 2 short HDMI cables, and my video village was ready to go. But as I said, it took me some time to set it up and break it down every time. And if I'm able to save myself and my clients some time, I'm all for it. So right after I received my A7S III, I checked if my HDMI transmitter setup would also work on my new camera, and it did. But as I started to explore the camera settings, I also stumbled across the option to control the camera via smartphone. I wasn't a big fan of the Imagine Edge mobile app for the A6300, but Sony added one feature to the app in combination with the A7S III that blew my mind. Not only am I able to change things like aperture, ISO, shutter speed, white balance, focus mode, the recording option, and see the remaining time on each SD card. I was also able to use tap to focus on whatever device I connected it to, which meant that my wife is now able to not only monitor everything from an Android or iOS device, but also can help me pull focus whenever I'm not able to. And this is really amazing. The only thing I have to adjust up front is the transition speed and the tracking sensitivity. I mean, look at this. Pulling focus was never easier. So here's how you set it up. Go to the network folder in the menu. Then to transfer/remote. Turn on control with smartphone. Go down to connection and connect your smartphone with the camera. Once you've done that, you can control your camera via the app on your smartphone or tablet. So that's it for today's video. Of course, you find links to all the stuff I talked about in the description. Hey, and if you learned something, leave me a like and consider subscribing. Until next time, peace.